Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Too Many Guys soccer show, Other League Short, where we talk about all of English soccer that isn't the Premier League. We've got a lot of cup action ongoing in both the men's and women's games, and we'll get to that in no time, including a heartbreak in North Wales and a once in a 68-year opportunity in the north of England. But it was an incredibly consequential weekend in the Women's Super League. So let's get started there. I'm excited. Let's go. So we entered match week 13 with Manchester United as your somewhat unlikely leaders atop the WSL, level on points with Chelsea but ahead on goal differential. And behind both those teams by 3 points but with a game in hand was Arsenal. So we essentially had a three-way tie atop the division, at least three-way sort of potential tie. However, this weekend we did have a breakthrough. Chelsea had entered the weekend coming off an FA Cup win over Liverpool. A little bit more on Women's FA Cup in a minute. And they were playing their London rivals in Tottenham, featuring their old friend and beloved striker Beth England, who deserves more playing time than she was getting at Chelsea, so happy to see her make that move. And she showed that she deserved that time, scoring an early equalizer after Chelsea went ahead. However, England's replacement in the Chelsea side, Lauren James, put Chelsea ahead before Guro Reiten added a third. Chelsea went on to win 3-2, a tough blow for Tottenham, who, sitting in ninth place and having lost each of their last 7 league matches, are performing pretty well below expectations. They're not really in danger of getting relegated, as only one team leaves the WSL. However, for a team that finished 5th last year and brought in a bunch of talent to push for the top 3, well, it's fair to say they're pretty far adrift. So if Chelsea took care of their business, and I've been hyping up that this was an important weekend, well, then some of their rivals must have taken a tumble. And that, in fact, is the case. Man U played Everton, and Arsenal played West Ham. And beyond that, I really don't have that much to report. Both of those matches ended in 0-0 draws, which is pretty important. Yeah, Everton are having a pretty good year, turning their 10th place finish last year to be 5th this. They're kind of the best of the rest of the teams that don't involve the big four of Chelsea, Arsenal, Man U, and City. But Everton are the kind of team that Man U needs to beat if they're going to win this title. And the same goes for Arsenal against West Ham. This is going to be a big problem for these sides heading towards the stretch. Dropping points against your rivals for the championship, well, I mean, that's probably going to happen for one of these sides. But this league is won and lost on the points you drop against your non-top 4 rivals. Chelsea are now in the driver's seat to win their 4th league title, but what's worse is Chelsea are just getting better. Worse for the rest of the league, not for me. Chelsea are averaging nearly 4 goals per match over their last 7 games in all competitions, and Sam Kerr is starting to put in loads of goals. If everything holds steady, we could very well look back on this weekend as the weekend that Chelsea won the title. Oh yeah, Man City are still a part of the conversation. By the way, Arsenal dropping points now puts them level with City with that game in hand. But they still have to face City twice, including this Saturday in a makeup from all the way back when England were mourning their queen. So, in fact, this Saturday on the 11th on Paramount Plus at 7:30 Eastern, you can watch these two sides face off. It's going to be big. Winner is going to get the upper hand for the 3rd and final Champions League spot. While neither of these sides are really out of the title race, they're going to have to score some results against Man U and Chelsea if they want to get back into it. And even more critically, they can't drop points against those other non-Big Four teams. Okay, so that's what's up with the WSL, but like in the men's game, January and early February are also big times for cup competitions, with the Women's League Cup, the Continental Cup, or Conti Cup as it's called, is entering its final stages along with the Women's FA Cup. We have a final in the Conti Cup, and it's going to be, as you might have predicted, Chelsea versus Arsenal. Arsenal won their semi-final over who else? Man City, who they get to play again, with Stina Blackstenius placing home the winner in extra time. Chelsea, meanwhile, went to East London and blew away both the Bubbles and West Ham. They won 7-1, with Sam Kerr scoring 4 goals. The final of this competition, the Conti Cup, will take place March 5th at Selhurst Park. Likewise, the WSL clubs joined the Women's FA Cup in the 4th round recently, and 9 out of the 12 have made it through to the 5th round. And the 5th round is going to be played on February 26th. The only WSL side to lose to a lower league side were Everton, who lost to Palace and then turned around and drew with the WSL leaders Man U in their next game. Isn't football a lovely game? Additionally, Chelsea drew a measure of revenge for their opening week loss to Liverpool, with Sam Kerr scoring a hat trick as the Blues beat the Reds 3-2. In case you're not following along and doing mental arithmetic as I spout goal numbers at you during this podcast, that makes 7 goals and 2 game balls for Sam Kerr in her last 2 cup matches against WSL opponents. And wouldn't you know it, Chelsea face Arsenal in the next round of the FA Cup as well. I swear they weight the balls or something. Additionally, Reading took down Leicester in the other old WSL matchup of round 4 on penalties. There are no replays in the Women's FA Cup, which leads us to the men's game. And it wasn't always sunny for America's favorite non-league side in their FA Cup replay. Oh, no, it wasn't. And by the way, if you're going to be annoyed by me making this a cheeky word game about the film careers of Wrexham's actor owners, you should probably just skip ahead for a minute or so. But yes, our Wrexham heroes brought their mythic quest, it's Rob McElhenney, into Bramall Lane and found nothing but a dead pool of sadness. Deadpool. Yes, the Red Dragons really put on a spirited Ryan Reynolds show in their replay against Sheffield United, but at the end of the day, it was a series of non-league type mistakes that ended the chaos theory, Reynolds, that Wrexham might have had in mind. I'm really digging deep into Ryan Reynolds' career here. After a goalless first half kept us waiting, Ryan Reynolds, for a breakthrough, a good Sheffield United move opened the scoring. A few minutes later, Wrexham got their break when a foul on Paul Mullen was given as a penalty, even though it definitely maybe, Ryan Reynolds, might have been outside the box. Mullen converted that penalty, and just a few minutes later, he earned another one for his side, although that one wasn't buried, Ryan Reynolds. That save proved a turning point, though Wrexham held out for the next half hour and looked poised to force extra time when a critical defensive error left Sheffield with a free guy running down the left, putting home the winner in the 90 plus 4th minute. It wasn't meant to be for Wrexham, but maybe we'll see more of them next year if they get promoted to the league. Anyway, thank you, Wrexham, for giving us the Van Wildest ride of this year's FA Cup. See, it's better than Van Wilder. It's Van Wildest. All right, I'm going to return to non-pun analysis here. I thank you for playing along with me there at home. And actually, America, there were other FA Cup replays. Can you believe it? While usually replays are not the friend of lower league sides, League Two Grimsby Town beat the championship side Luton Town 3-0 to secure their place in the 5th round, and in doing so, they became the lowest ranked side in the English football pyramid to remain in the competition. At present, they occupy the 84th position on the pyramid as the 16th place team in League Two. The Mariners will go to the dreaded south coast of Southampton in the next round, and Southampton, as I mentioned usually, are pretty good in the cups. The next lowest side, Fleetwood Town, sit in 17th in League One. They beat League One leaders Sheffield Wednesday in their replay this week to score an all-lower league matchup against Burnley, although honestly, really, Burnley might be better than Southampton this year. In all of the 16 teams competing in the fifth round of the FA Cup, 7 of them are from the lower leagues, with only 2 all-Premier League sides in the next round. So we still have plenty of potential for some pretty big upsets. It's going to be a fun competition this year. And finally tonight, we should mention that as predicted, Man U and Newcastle will meet in the final of the Carabao Cup. And you know what? I'll say it. I'm pulling for Newcastle. You know, the last cup that Newcastle won was the European Intercities Fair Cup, which I'm not going to lie to you, I had to look up. And it's roughly what the Europa League would be right now. It started as like a bunch of friendlies from teams in cities that were having trade fairs. And in those days, only league champions got to the European Cup. So a lot of second place sides got to get in this. And then it grew and got larger. There were 3 or 4 teams from countries. And then UEFA just made their own thing, the UEFA League, which became the Europa League now. So Newcastle haven't won this since 1969, and they haven't won a domestic cup since 1955. I'm not really happy about them needing oil money to do this, but I'd be happy to see a non-Big Six side take a trophy in English football. All right, guys, next week I'll take a look back into the lower men's leagues where Burnley just absolutely trucked Norwich this weekend, pretty much making a statement that they're the top dogs in the championship. And we'll also take a peek we'll go all the way down and take a peek at Gillingham, who have somehow managed to go undefeated in 4 games, crawl level with Wolves for the fewest goals on the entire league table, and yet they still sit in a relegation spot. All that and more when we try to do better next week, because we certainly didn't do well enough this week because I didn't even get in a reference to the Ryan Reynolds movie, The Croods. For the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, signing off, go Birds.